catalyst for change with the chance to thrive. Crystal is the one to stir up gifts and save lives. You get exposure, promotion, and marketing too. And advertise for business owners just like you. On Storytime, your interview is global. Virtual or in person, just come on the show. Yo, your story matters. Crystals will open the door. 40 years of experience, ready to give you more on Storytime. Get ready for Storytime. Hey, come on.
How are you today? My name is Crystal. I am so excited to have you here this evening. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you guys for your patience. It's Sunday night, and we know we moved our show from 8 to 9 p.m. on Sunday because we had a couple of things going on, but we want to say thank you to everybody who has been patiently waiting. And we're excited because we have a great guest. We have our young man who is Falcon that we know from St. Augustine, and we're just excited. We're excited to have him here, and it's going to be truly, truly a blessing. You've probably seen this flyer that I had up, and you've probably seen it. His name is Will, and I am excited because Will is amazing. If you know this guy, you know he is absolutely amazing. His story is remarkable. I always told him that we have to share his story. So today we're going to get right in it. I see him at the door. It's 9 o'clock. We're going to get this party started. Will, are you with me?
I am. Hi, Crystal. How are you?
Okay. I thank you so much. You know, this is long overdue. I remember sitting there with you and Rick High, and Rick was like, man, you have to share your story. You remember that?
I do. I knew it real well. Yep.
Yes. And we knew that this is definitely something because you are such an inspiration. And I was looking at your bio about you being from New York. I never realized that you were a New Yorker.
Yeah, upstate New York. Upstate.
Yeah. You know what? And I've been in New York all my life, but I've never been upstate. I've been to all the boroughs except for upstate. So how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Fabulous, and glad to be with you.
Okay, so listen, let me do this right here. I'm going to go through some things that's on your bio, but what I always do when I start out is I always ask my guests to kind of give us a small introduction of themselves for the people out there who don't know who Will is. And first and foremost, before we do that, I want to say welcome to everybody out there. I see y'all out there. I want you to say hello. If you say hello in the comments, I will bring the comment up so that Will know you're here. I'm already seeing some people in there. I see Tanya Bell Prince. I see, I don't want to mess your name up. Is it Tavarius Felton?
Tavarius.
Yeah, so I want to make sure I'm going to acknowledge all of you. And I'll tell you some house rules here too while you're doing it, because in Storytime, we connect with individuals. So I want you to make sure that you take a moment and share this with a couple of people, okay? Let them know that you are here on Storytime, and Storytime is where we connect. And I want you to make sure that you like, share, and comment. But Will, for the people who have never met you before, that doesn't quite know who is Will Jones, I can tell them you're a man from New York City. I can tell them that you are a person that lived the first 5 years of your life in the hospital and you've been through some challenges. I can tell them all the things about, fast forward, you being the fantastic gymnast, the alpha man, the courageous guy, all the things they're going to see. But I want you to give them a quick introduction. Who is Will Jones?
So thanks, Crystal. Will Jones, myself. Hello, Will. For anybody that doesn't know who I am, I'm Will Jones. Born Wilbert Devon Jones. I go by Will. And from Syracuse, New York originally. Born in 1964 from my mom, my mother, Rachel Gamble, my father, Robert Jones. And I have my sister Sonia, and my twin brother Gilbert, and I had an older brother named Brian. Brian was murdered back in 1980. 81, we moved from Syracuse, New York, to Statesville, North Carolina. I went to high school in Statesville, finished up my high school there. Then, of course, I went on to St. Aug, and I did a tremendous job meeting friends and family at St. Aug. St. Aug is still dear to my heart. Finished St. Aug, then went to Michigan State University in East Lansing, Michigan. Got a master's from East Lansing, from Michigan State. Left there, went to Washington, D.C. Started with the federal government, I've been working with the federal government for 38 years. Married to the beautiful Veronica Jones. Have raised 4 sons, Isaac, Antonio, Tavarius, and Bela. And got 4 grandchildren. Live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I've mentored all of my adult life, young men and young women. Volunteered at the Boys and Girls Club. Member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Member of Los Bravos Incorporated, which is a social club here in Charlotte. We do civic and philanthropy work in the Charlotte community. I help seniors. I have a big heart for helping seniors and those who are in need. I am empathetic, I'm compassionate, understanding, and a loving individual. Overall, I'm a good person, and I try to lead by example rather than having or be led by others. So I'm just excited to have this opportunity to share some of the things that I've done in my life with the world out there, and especially with you, Crystal, for inviting me and having me on tonight's show.
Yes, because you definitely are doing it. And I see y'all keep coming in. I see Lolita Page saying hello. She says, hey, Will. I see Jeffrey. Jeffrey's in the building. Andrew is in the building. You have a lot of love out here. So keep them coming, and I will make sure that they do it. Now, Will, let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. You have quite a resume, man. You have done a lot of things. And when I look at you, you are such an inspiration. Now, I saw on your bio, let's take me back to your childhood. Take me back to your childhood, because before you got here, you started out as a challenging life. Yeah. You started out the first 5 years of your life in the hospital. And what was that condition called? Because I don't want to mispronounce it. I don't want to mispronounce it.
I know, right? So my mom was carrying twins in 1964. They didn't have the technology that they have today. So they weren't able to, of course, identify the fact that she had twins. And so they sent her home from the doctor one day, and she went those 9 months without actually being cared for as well as she should have been. And my mom went to the doctor when she got ready to have the children, myself and Gilbert. She was on the table. Gilbert came out first, and they said, okay, and she was fine. She was relieved. Everybody was fine. Then they came back and said, uh-oh, you've got another one. And so Wilbert was in the back of my mom's womb. My legs were turned inward and towards my groin area. So they weren't able to fully develop. The condition that I have is called arthrogryposis multiplex congenita. So it's easier, Crystal, just to say AMC rather than trying to say arthrogryposis multiplex congenita. But it's a birth condition that ordinarily would affect people in a negative way. But that condition has actually helped me in a positive. I spent the first 5 years in St. Margaret's Hospital. My mom sent me 2 hours away from Syracuse to get the medical treatment that I needed. So I stayed there again for 5 years. And every weekend, my mom caught the Greyhound bus from Syracuse to Albany to make sure that she checked and visited me. Sometimes she was able to bring my siblings, other times she wasn't. But for the first 5 birthdays, she made sure that Gilbert and I had our birthdays together.
Wow.
It was an interesting experience. I remember some of it, not a lot of it. I have pictures from that time, and I was able to go back to St. Margaret's when I was in DC back in the 90s. And there were still some nurses that were there that remembered me. And it was an emotional experience because I couldn't imagine myself being there. But they remembered me, and they were crying and everything. But my mom was very unselfish by letting her newborn child go to a place 2 hours away just so that I could get the care and the treatment that I needed in order to turn me into the gentleman that I am today.
Most definitely. Now, fast forward to high school, because when I look at the high school pictures and you being on the gym team and everything, take me through your elementary years until you got to the point where you came to grips with who you was, what your limitations were supposed to be, because in your mind, I don't think you have those limitations, because you go at it like, listen, this is who I am. I'm not letting nothing stop me. And that's why you're such an inspiration. So take me to when that started happening. Was it in elementary? Was it in middle school? Was it in high school? When did you become the person that made their mind up to say, okay, I got this condition, but this condition doesn't have me? When did that happen?
So it probably happened as soon as I got home from St. Margaret's. I was 5 and I was rejoined with my family. One of the first things I did when I got home was climb onto the fireplace, to the mantle of the fireplace, and jump down and broke my leg. So at that point, my mother beat me, and I won't say beat the way that y'all think, but she gave me a spanking, and she never treated me any differently. I got treated the exact same as everyone else or the other siblings. She never had pity or took pity or had pity on me. And that really, I know for a fact, made me the guy that I am, because she didn't, and then my siblings didn't, and then my friends and other family in Syracuse didn't treat me any differently. You know, there's some folks that would treat you as though you're handicapped, or they'll treat you like you have a disease or an illness, and they'll push you to the side.
Wow.
But
And
I didn't
that's
experience.
important. And that's important because I know that in your career now, you're around students and you're around individuals. Well, how challenging is that in this day and age for families to make sure that they instill that into anyone with any type of, I don't want to use the word handicap or limitation or illness or disability, but how important is it that they make them feel like they are differently able? So they might not be, at society says disabled, but they're differently able. So they can still achieve things, but they're just differently able. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
How important is it that your mom and them instilled that in you? And what would you say to somebody out there who may have a child that hasn't started doing that?
It's very, very, very important that you don't show any differences, that you don't treat them different, that you don't sit there and baby them and act like they can't do. Because when you do that, again, you're telling them and you're treating them as though they have an issue or a problem. That whole differently abled, physically challenged, whatever term you want to use, it's important that you make sure that they're treated exactly the same as everyone else. You got to do it that way, because if not, then that person will grow up and they'll have people feeling sorry for themselves, and they will feel sorry as well, and having pity. I never wanted pity, and I still don't. And I didn't want to feel sorry for myself, and I never do. Even at bad times when I was growing up and I couldn't do things like ride a bike, I felt some type of a way. However, my mom made sure she let me know and built me into the strong person and say, hey, there'll be a time when you will be able to. Right now, no, you can't do this. However, you can do this other thing, though. And so it's very important. At one time in life, folks pushed physically challenged individuals or differently abled folks to the back of the room. They always stayed in a closet area or in a bedroom. You didn't even know they existed. Now, thanks be to God, folks are now being seen and they're being heard. And I'm one of those people. I advocate for that, because just because I do something differently, I may walk with crutches. Yes. And some folks would say, well, he can't walk. Well, I walk with my mind, Crystal, and not
Right.
with my legs. There's several ways of walking. And that's what folks got to realize, that you don't just see the physical part of somebody, but you see the inner part of them.
Wow, wow, that's amazing. I want to show, I think this is a good time for us to show the slideshow that I have here so y'all can really understand what we're talking about. Will has done some things over his life. I want to take a moment and pause and show this slideshow for a moment, and then we'll be back. So let's take a moment and take a look at this and just really dive into this and see what we have here. Okay, just a moment. I think you'll enjoy this. Well, as I look through here and I see your beautiful wife, I'm seeing you as a family man. I'm seeing you here with the entire family, beautiful children, grandchildren, and all. I mean, this is so inspiring, definitely. So if there's somebody out here watching, wondering if this can be you, you can. College graduate, HBCU, just a man who's out there doing everything he needs to do. Elephants, look at that, out there with the elephants and doing those things right there, traveling, skiing. Oh my goodness, living life to the fullest. Okay, celebrating life, doing what you want to do. I mean, smiling through it, pushing through it. My, pledging. I can imagine what that's like too. Pledging. It's like anything. Suave out there, I mean, this demand and miracles happen. So you've been recognized among many people for doing many things. So I think that it is clear that mom did an amazing job in instilling this, then went further to have a master's. We are so proud. We are so, so proud. And I didn't put the music on because I wanted to talk through that because I wanted you to know how proud we are of you for all those things that you have done because it's so important. You've always stood out and it's just admirable. So do you now pour that into your students?
I do, Crystal. And a lot of times I tell my students, of course, they're pursuing their degrees. And I tell them that I know you have to use the textbooks for the writing and for the research, but the majority of this class is going to be taught from the Book of Will. And what that means is I'm giving them my life, my story to encourage, motivate, and inspire.
April put up this all in the mind. Amen, April. That's right. And the young lady, Lolita said, preach, Will, focus on your strengths. That's it. And Taravis said, that's amazing. Yes, it is. It is. It is truly amazing for those things. Andrew said, hello to Cool Will. All right. We got Jeffrey Dyer in the building too. So guys, let us know you out there. We'll definitely still let him know that you're there. Let us know that you're out there so we can let him know that you are there. And we love the support. Are some of these your fraternal brothers, some of your students, family, friends?
So, yeah, one of them is my son, Tavarius.
Okay.
And then I have several frat brothers and friends of the family, friends that I've met here in Charlotte. St. Aug alumni are on there, and just loved ones. There's a couple AKAs. So, people that I've met through my journey and that I've hopefully inspired in some kind of a positive way, and who have also inspired me.
Yes. So what is a challenge that you have overcome that you feel as though you really do spread this message when you go out? Because I know they bring you in for speaking engagement. When you speak, what is the message that you have for your audience most of the time when you're speaking these days?
Challenge, let's see which one is the major one. So I think, well, a great challenge was last year. I've always wanted to ski, and I never was able to ski, of course, because you stand up with these skis and you stand on the skis themselves. You got the pole and you go down hills. So last year, my wife and I and my son took a trip to Utah, and we were able to go skiing. They have an adaptive ski center out there, and you sit in this little bucket thing and you go up and down the slope. So last year was my very first time being able to ski. I wasn't able to ride a bike as a boy, and someone, of course, created a hand cycle. I entered the International Law Enforcement Games in 1996. I was the first physically challenged individual to ever be in those. And I entered from the sport was hand cycling or cycling. And I went up and down mountains in Utah. I came in dead last, but I did enter the race. That was an exciting challenge that I overcame. The whole sports, a gymnast, world-class gymnast. There's a guy online, Jeff Dyer, will tell you I'm maybe not a world-class gymnast, but I was. I was the first handicapped, physically challenged, differently able, whatever term you want to use, at that time in the 80s. To be a gymnast. New York State didn't know how to accept me and what to do with me. My mom had to sign a waiver, insurance waivers in case I got hurt or killed, and she
I
wasn't
won't
apt
get
to
on
really sign
ski.
it. The school didn't want to. The city didn't want me to. I'm sorry.
I won't even get on skis. And here you are jumping on skis and doing that. Like, come on now. Like, come on.
Yeah,
So you are fearless somewhat. You're a
yeah.
daredevil.
My mother always said that about me, that I took challenges. And my family would tell you if I come up with something crazy, and if I tell them that, they'll tell you he's going to do it.
Wow. Your son said the best dad a son could ever have. I can only imagine how inspired they are by you. And I know you don't accept no excuses for anything.
Yeah. No, and you shouldn't have any. I mean, even if you have some challenges, there's ways of overcoming them. If you can't go through it, then go around.
Wow, 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 wow. So, Will, let me ask you this question. What next? Right now, you've gone skiing. You talked about the bucket list, right? What else is on that bucket list that you haven't done yet that you would like to achieve?
Actually, I never thought of that as it's a great question. Not really sure what the bucket list consists of. I'm 60. I'll be 61 in 2 weeks. I claim that I'm going to retire at 62, but I most likely will not. I like teaching and I like mentoring. So if I do retire from my full-time job, then next might be teaching middle school or high school students. But I really haven't put a lot of thought into the bucket list. When things come up and they approach me, then I apply or I challenge myself to do it, but have nothing really on the horizon as far as bucket list.
Wow. And so, what, you got a safari when I saw the elephant behind you?
Yeah, we went last year. My wife and I took a 10-day safari to South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Zambia. We went to Victoria Falls and we went to Kruger National Park, slept out in the wild with the animals. That was my 60th birthday present to myself and our 13th wedding anniversary. We had a beautiful time. I'd always wanted to go on a safari. And again, folks said that, they were scared and people were telling me people get killed. I understand that. You're going to die either way. So I might as well die on a safari rather than just dying at the house here. So it was a really, really great experience.
Wow, wow. Now, you said your wife. Talk to me about this wife and how long you've been married and how much of a value she is in your life, because I know she brings value too.
A lot of value. We met at the Boys and Girls Club. We both have this whole servant leadership about us. And she has mentored, she's served, she continues to serve others. You don't even have to ask her. And she'll see a need and she'll jump in and she'll just go and do what she does. But she's been a great inspiration and a motivator. She's been by my side for a great while now. We were friends before we became husband and wife. And so that friendship just develops over time into, the relationship that we have now. What's important about this story, though, also, is that when you're physically challenged or differently abled, folks will like you or women will like you as a friend, but it's hard to date. So dating isn't as easy as people think. I may be handsome, may have charm, may even have a nice vehicle and all those types of things, but it's harder to date as a physically challenged person. And my wife and I talk all the time about it because she said she didn't see the crutches. She saw me. And that made a big difference. And I'm truly grateful to have her by my side.
That's amazing. I wanted to take a moment to show y'all this elephant we talked about here. When he was talking about that elephant, y'all see that? Like, come on now, the daredevil, my goodness. So she did not see the crutches, man. Beautiful. And you see what April says. She says, "I love the way you love your wife." So it is definitely noticeable. So now there's something else you did. You became an alpha man. Talk to me about that. How did that decision come about, and what made you choose alphas? And I see you have here, Mr. Jeffrey said he's a world-class gymnast. He said, "Oh my goodness, competed in the city championship and state championship and had skills." Look at that. Look at that. Man, so the first competition you did you win in the very first one?
I'm sorry.
The first competition as a gymnast, did you?
Oh, yeah,
Did you place?
I started out in junior high school. They call it middle school now. In junior high school, I started out winning, and
Wow.
some folks will tell you I'm cocky. I'm not. I'm confident. But I started out winning, recognized in New York State, not just in Syracuse, not in Central New York, but the state itself. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. So Alpha Man, talk to me about that. How was that? Was that a challenge trying to when you decided to pledge? Talk to me about that process in case there's someone out there that may be watching that's just being inspired and saying, you know what, I can do this. If he can do it, I can do it. How did you choose Alpha by Alpha versus Omegas and Sigmas and all the options there are out there?
There are a lot of options out there, and no shade towards any of the organizations, but Alpha was the one for me, which it still is. Manly deeds, scholarship, and love for all mankind. Those are the aims of Alpha Phi fraternity, and those aims epitomize my life. I did not join Alpha. I pledged Alpha. In 1984, fall of 1984, I crossed Alpha. Great fraternity. The whole process was an interesting process. And I'm sure that the university or college, St. Augustine's College at the time, along with the fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, had its challenges as well with accepting me online because I was the first physically challenged individual to pledge. And I don't know that many people that have pledged after me that have some type of a, disability or whatever you might have, handicap. But it was an interesting, hard, arduous, challenging process. But the brothers respected me. They accepted me. And I'm really glad that they did because that made a big difference in my life. The fact that my son now is an Alpha.
Wow.
And I mean, just the fact that those guys, those whole 1980s brothers, went through whatever process that they did behind closed doors. And I would love to be a fly on the wall and just hear the arguments. And I would love to be sitting on the university's board and saying, are you sure you want to take a chance on this, brother? Because there was no ADA at the time, Americans with Disabilities Act.
Okay.
There were no accommodations.
Wow. So there were a lot of risks, and they didn't know really how to deal with the risks at the time.
That's right.
Because there was nothing in place.
There was nothing in place. And so everything that my line brothers did, I went through exactly the same thing. And
wow.
We just celebrated our 40th anniversary this past December. But yeah, Crystal, I'm an alpha man, the true alpha man.
So you said something. You said, I didn't join, I pledged. And then you just said you went through the exact same thing. So it wasn't like streamlined or watered down, or there weren't no exceptions. You pledged.
That's exactly. And I pledged in the 80s, which makes a major difference.
Back in the day where they were going through cemeteries and hazing and all that, that's when they really did some stuff that they can't do anymore. So wow. What's the most memorable, challenging, scary thing that you went through pledging that you can talk about? Because I know some things you may not be able to, but what's the most memorable, scary, challenging thing that you went through? Because I've heard stories where people told me that I had a young lady tell me a story once about something that she was supposed to do, and when she realized it, she freaked out. But when she realized how she could actually do it, it was simpler than she thought. But it was just it's using this right here. So what's the most challenging thing you overcame through pledging that was kind of scary at the moment, but then once you kind of realized that you were able to cope with it and get it done?
Scary. Well, the scariest part to me was the beginning, because rollout night by itself, we didn't know. It was all unexpected. You had no idea what it was going to entail. So you're sitting there, you've got these trench coats on, you've got these hats. If you look at that picture, Crystal, with us in the line behind me. And then you're all meeting at one spot. You're walking through St. Aug's campus at night, and everybody is singing, I got a feeling, I got a feeling. And so you don't know what's going on. You're blindfolded, but yet you're walking. You're taking one step forward and two steps back. But an alpha man never steps back. That part right there. And then afterwards, you meet and you greet and you start the process. And I knew that once I started, anything I start, Crystal, I always finish no matter what. And so I started the process. I'm in an agreement with Will Jones to say that I'm now here and I'm going to finish. And 13 rolled out and 8 crossed, Crystal.
Super proud of you for that. I was searching, so I was going to pull that picture up. Super proud of you. Yeah, that was a cool picture with you with the hat and the trench coats, and those were the days, definitely. So you may retire, you said, at 62 possibly. So what next if you decide to do that? What is it that Will wants to do besides live and enjoy your wife and these grandchildren? What next?
That's the scary part, because I keep saying that I'm going to retire. But if I do, that's the question, what next? And I don't really have a plan. COVID came in and took away my original plan. And with that, they shut down some of the universities that I was teaching at. And so now I've got to put another plan together. But Crystal, honestly, I enjoy the job that I'm doing. I like leading. I like motivating. I'm in charge of a team. I have 8 folks that I'm responsible for. I meet with some of them daily. I'm in the process now of training 2 new individuals. I don't really know what's next, and I'll approach that when it comes. But right now, I'm enjoying the today.
That's good. That's good. So there may be some people out here who know a lot about you, but what's something that they don't know about Will? We know that you're daring. We know that you do whatever you set your mind out to do. What are some hobbies you like to do? What are you doing when you're not teaching and mentoring and you're not serving with the alphas? What does Will do during his downtime?
So to be honest, Chris, I really don't have a downtime. My wife would tell you that, and my kids would tell you that, because they always say, Dad, you need to take a break. You need to rest. And I'm like, I'll rest when I'm in the box. But right now, there's still things to do. But sometimes folks don't realize, I was just talking to 2 brothers yesterday about yard work. I cut my own grass still with a push mower most of the time. And I do all my weeding and my trimming and my hedge work, my landscaping. I don't pay a landscaper. And so they're like, Will, you you ought to doing your grass and all that. Yeah, because it's mobile. It helps keep me mobile. And I like to do yard work. Whereas, you get a certain point in time in life, you pay a landscaper, but I just feel it's a waste of money to me, not to anybody else. So I spend a lot of time with my grass, spend a lot of time making sure that the weeds are kept down. I like gardening. People may not know the fact that I garden. I like gardening. And then when I was in school, one thing people do not know is when I was in junior high school, I had the audacity to try to be a musician. So I played the French horn. And if anyone knows about the French horn, it's one of the largest brass instruments out there. So I'm
Wow.
walking to school, walking to the bus stop with this giant French horn and and these crutches, and I'm dragging the French horn through the snow. And then I have socks on my hands.
Is that like the size of a tuba or something? You said huge. I'm picturing like a
And I
big
got socks
tuba.
on, right? And I've got socks on my hands. The socks are sticking to the crutches because you got metal, you've got the frost on the sock gets wet. Now you got to pull the socks from it. But I do also, Crystal. So that's an interesting story about my childhood. But as an adult, though, I have a U.S. patent, Crystal, for the items that I wear on my crutches. So I'm a patent holder as well, and that helped me with my self-esteem because growing up, I always had to put tape around my crutches, and the tape would get dirty, or I'd put towels on there, and the towels would get dirty, and then they would soil the underarms of my shirts. And if a teacher asked a question, I'd be embarrassed to raise my hand because, again, my underarms would be soiled. So I
Okay.
came up with an idea to make that easier and make it more comfortable for me in using the crutches, but also stylish. And so I do have a U.S. patent for that.
Inventor. Inventor too. We got to add inventor to the list. Wow. This man is something else. Oh my goodness. Let me ask you this, Will.
Hmm?
People are mean in this world today. And I know sometimes we have children, they're being bullied and people are inconsiderate. And sometimes when people are on crutches and doing different things. Did you go through a period in any of your school years where you had to deal with that? And what would you say to individuals who don't have compassion or empathy that take advantage of those that are in a situation where they can't completely, defend themselves?
So I actually have that all the time. It doesn't stop.
It may be
When folks, they see the crutches first, they see a disability, they see a can't do before they actually see you. All
Mhm.
growing up, a lot of times, they were in school, people would pick at me and they would call me crippled. They use mean names like that. And it would bother me. And I would sometimes cry, but I talked to my mom about it. And my mother would always encourage me and motivate me and tell me that I was better than those kids. But one time in elementary school, that happened.
I think something may be going on with your Wi-Fi because it's fading in and out, Will. So I'm gonna ask you to repeat that because I think something
Okay.
happened with your Wi-Fi. Repeat that, please.
I was saying that one time in elementary school, a kid was picking at me about the crutches and calling me cripple. And so I took the crutch. I'd gotten sick of it because it was a daily thing. I gotten sick of it, and then I actually hit him with the crutch. And once I did that, then that stopped all the picking from him or from other kids. But you face that as an adult as well. You'll have men, grown men, who will try to challenge you and say, "Oh, you married?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm married." And they'd be like, "Oh, I didn't think you'd get married." Or when they see my wife and I together, sometimes they may even ask her. And I told her to be prepared in case it happens, that they may try to hit on her because they think that I'm not competent or, whatever the situation might be. I've had people that will come up to me and they will tell me that Jesus can heal me. They will offer me a New Testament, or they will give me or offer me money to say that, that I'm different and that God is, God will be there and God is here. And I'm looking at them like, I really believe you need God or healing a
Wow,
little more than
that's
I do. I've experienced it also, and they get mad when it happens.
that's crazy. It's sad that people are just cruel. They're mean. It's
Oh
just
yeah.
really sad. Are you advocating for handicaps in any kind of way? Do you sit on any boards or do anything since you are educated and everything? Or do you make sure that when you go in these restaurants, if you see that something is not accommodating, do you go the extra mile to say something and ask them to implement or change the policy?
I do. One way, yes, I do. And even at my job, I've advocated for reasonable accommodations. I always walk. If you ever notice, I walk with my head down a lot because I have to check out the scenery before I walk into it. But when I'm in restaurants, when I'm in hotels, I normally will ask for an accommodation, a room that's accommodating, and when they aren't, then I bring it to their attention. I'm also an ambassador for prostate cancer because I'm a prostate cancer survivor. So there's all types of accommodations that need to be made. Curve cuts. I try to make sure that the curves are there. I'm really against folks that abuse the physical handicap parking. You'll see people just get in and out. They'll park right there. Some of them will have the placard themselves and they get out and run right in. I try to advocate for folks when it comes to using the carts at grocery stores. You'll see a lot of people and kids that just play on those carts instead of leaving them for the folks that really need them. 2 years ago, I bought my own scooter for that reason, because it was hard for me, someone who may need the cart, to actually get one. So I bought my own so that I wouldn't have to go through that. Because when you're talking to people, they will actually, instead of trying to understand your plight, they'll normally cuss you out. So I've stopped. In some ways, I still advocate, but there's a limit to it because, again, I don't want to get into an altercation over some of these issues.
I understand. I understand. Well, Will, I really appreciate you taking time to let people know. I think sometimes people don't understand. And let me ask you this. And if anybody out there wants to ask him a question, you can put the questions on the comments and I will definitely put it up there. I see you saying everything. Definitely. Elaine says she's super proud. She said, my friend, I'm very proud of you. Great man, great character, you know. And we have Terrence. He said, all these years that I've known you, I didn't know about the French horn. He said he didn't know about the French horn. See, he learned something new about you today, you know. And so, of course, Andrew said, great alpha man. But if y'all have any questions about anything else, feel free, you know. And Keith said, of course, your family is here. And Tavares learned something new, too. He said he didn't know some things. So you telling people some things that they didn't know here on Storytime. So that's good. And, of course, they said you're outstanding. So that's excellent. That's why I asked you what anything people didn't know about you. So that's pretty cool. I'm glad to know that. And someone said that you were their brother for 43 years, Terrence. So that's good. Ooh. And yeah, so that's good. So you definitely are being impactful. And I wanted to ask you, is it inconsiderate? Sometimes people don't know, like, should they ask a person, like, what happened? Sometimes when people see a person that has a disability or something like that, do you run across that? And is there a proper way to advise people, like, especially if they're not your friend, if they're not close up, they shouldn't ask questions? I had somebody ask me that the other day, and I said, if you don't know that person on a personal level, that's none of your business. So can you talk about that for a moment? Like, if somebody is wanting to ask something that might be personal, there's a fine line there, would you say?
There's a fine line, but I would rather have them ask me directly than to come up and make up their own story, because that happens also with it. You'll hear people say they'll want to ask, and I've heard parents and others, they'll say, well, don't ask them, or don't stare, or don't point because you're being disrespectful, which, you know, the only way that they will know is by asking, or they'll assume he's got MS, multiple sclerosis, or he has arthritis or something else. And I'll say, no, that's not what I have. Just ask me and I'll explain it to you, which is better than, again, just making up stuff and saying that I have something. The best way, Crystal, is to be very direct. And I'll also tell you what it is, and I'll let you know if things work or if they don't work. If I am able to do some things, or if I'm not able to do some things. I'll give you the full story on this, because that way, again, you're no longer ignorant. When you're ignorant to it, that's when you start making up stuff. And those become, of course, lies, and some people begin to believe them. Best way to deal with it is to ask me.
Thank you for that, because sometimes people just don't know. Now, Will, I've been asking you a couple of questions. Is there anything that you want people to know about you that I haven't asked in regards to your family, your career, maybe something you have coming up, or just something on your heart that you may want to say to anybody, anything that, or anyone that you want to say something to? I know you spoke a lot about your mom and how much she meant to you, and I know your wife and your children. So I'll give you a moment to just let your people know, your friends, your fraternity brothers, whoever, anything that you might want to say to them. I always like to give my guests the opportunity to do that too.
So, couple things. One is, in case you all don't know, I am a prostate cancer survivor. 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and then went through treatments, came out fine. Early detection is a form of cure. And went to Africa I was diagnosed with stomach cancer. So I've been hit with cancer twice, and I had treatment then and just recently came back with a clean bill of health. And when I went to Africa, one of the reasons was going was to celebrate my 60th birthday and then my 13th wedding anniversary, but also as a cleansing and to get my mind right, just in case things didn't work out. And if I was going to pass or if I was going to die, then I would die in peace, because I've always liked the motherland and I wanted to go back there before I died. And so I had that opportunity. Also, to my friends and family that are out there who've supported me all these years. I'll be 61 in 2 years. My dad died at 57 from cancer, and my goal was to always outlive him, which I've done. I've had a really fulfilling and great life. Most of the people that are possibly on this call, y'all know me directly, and I've really tried to be a good person. I've tried to love each of you all in a certain way. I have been, growing up, I was very mischievous. If there's anybody on the line from Syracuse, y'all know it, but I was glad that I was able to redirect myself and turn myself into the person that I am today, because had I kept going in the direction that I was originally headed, it wouldn't have been a great outcome. Have yourselves checked out. Make sure that you go to the doctor on a regular basis. I know there are people that are scared to go. There's a lot of myths out there. There are a lot of scary folks, but sometimes going to the doctor, if you catch things early enough, that can be the cure, and your life may be extended 4 or 5 years. I do really, really appreciate all of you for just loving me and being there. The St. Aug family, y'all did a great job those 4 years of making me feel welcomed and loved. Y'all just really don't know the relationship that we built, because most of my friends today are from St. Aug.
Wow.
Still, whether they're alphas or not, but they come from that 4-year experience right there on their beautiful campus. And that's why I'm an advocate for saving St. Aug as well. And you'll see me a lot of times on St. Aug stuff, because I love St. Aug, because St. Aug loved me. When nobody else wanted me, St. Aug did. And so I'm very appreciative for that experience and for everybody that has helped in my life.
And I know this woman has stood by you. I know she's special to you. And anything you want to say to your loving wife?
Yeah, so that's Veronica there. She's the belle of the ball. And Veronica's been a really special person. She helped me in a lot of ways. Again, she's my rock. When we have differences, we don't argue. Our sons would tell you, they'll say, Mom and Dad have never argued, and their friends get mad and say, all parents argue. Well, we don't argue. Yes, we have differences and difference of opinion, but we have respect for one another and we love each other. And when we got together, the first thing that we said was we didn't want bad relationships like we had before. We wanted to move on with each other. We wanted to love each other. We wanted to respect each other. We wanted to value each other. And Veronica's done just that. She's kept her word, and I've kept my word as well. The folks that know us as husband and wife, the Joneses, they know that we're truly a great couple together, and we build on each other. Iron sharpens iron. She sharpens me when I need it, and then I sharpen her when she needs it. So thank you very much, Veronica, for being there. When no one else was there, Veronica was there.
That's amazing. Any upcoming events? Are you available for speaking engagements? If somebody wanted to bring you out to speak to their audience, to speak to corporate America or anyone on any topic, because you're a mentor and everything, do you provide a service? If so, you can definitely let us know. Or have you written a book, Will? Have you written a book?
So I've written a couple books.
Okay.
One of them is called Afroisms, and that's a collection of Black quips and quotes used in the African-American community. Then the other one is my family history. It's the Gamble Ramsey family from 1843 to my youngest grandson will be 4. So it's from 1843 up through whatever, 2020, whatever. But it's a history of our family from the North Carolina Gamble side. And then the poster that you showed on there, Crystal, that's my design as well. It lists 76 primarily Black inventors And I'm in the middle of that poster, number 36. I created that poster because folks don't know, or they'll say that African Americans didn't create or invent anything. And so what I did was, myself and a gentleman named Ray Mapp put together that poster showing the picture and the patent number so that people will see that, yes, this is truly an idea or an invention by a Black person.
The yellow picture? You talking about the yellow picture?
I'm talking about the yellow poster, yes.
Okay, okay. I that yellow poster. Wow. Okay. So you were the brains behind that as well.
Yes, that's
Okay.
my original idea, yes.
Okay, okay. Wow. Well, maybe we can get together, and it's always good to know. I learned a lot about you today, Will. You're somewhat quiet, but you feisty though.
I can be real feisty too. I can be real feisty.
Thing. Well, I appreciate you. I thank you so much for sharing and caring. Yes, I do agree with what you said about St. Aug. I have a lot of connection from St. Aug too. Definitely does HBCU pride. We all definitely do have a love there and a common bond there. And family is so important. I thank you so much for sharing about your family and everything that you've been through, being transparent about what you've gone through. I hope that helps someone, whether it's a parent or someone who's actually living through challenges. I hope that they got something out of you sharing your story, just watching you do what you do. Again, you're watching Will here. If you're just tuning in, if you come back and do the replay, you'll understand this is the man that lived his life and didn't let his situation stop him. He's married, he traveled, he skied, he's been to Africa, he pledged, he's a family man, he's grown up with his family, a married man, has children and grandchildren. So he is definitely living life to the fullest. So, Will, I know you have to get up and go to work in the morning, so I'm going to allow you to just give any closing comments that you'd like to give. If there are any closing comments that you want to say, I know you said your thank yous. I thank you for bringing up the prostate cancer, and let me just commend you because you beat cancer twice, stomach cancer and prostate. You said early detection, and I did a show with a young man, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we really got deep into the conversations about men and how stubborn they are and they don't want to be checked. So I'm glad you put that plug in there. Men, please go get checked. It is important. And it was very inspiring to know that you beat it twice. So that means that if you get a diagnosis, you can still have hope. You can still follow instructions, do what the doctor tell you to do, eat right, do right. I just want to ask you to comment on that for a minute, one more time, because I think that's important. Not giving up if you get those diagnoses and knowing that there is a cure and knowing that you can beat it. Can you just reiterate that one more time for somebody who might have missed that? Because I think those are important. The prostate and the stomach cancer, beating it and not letting your limitations stop you. I think I want you to close out on those notes and just remind the people one good time, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so earlier I said that I've had prostate cancer and stomach cancer, 5 years within the time frame. And the first time I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, I got the call that I was at my office, and I was a mess. I was crying and everything. My wife had to come and get me. I went through treatments, about 8 weeks. Excuse me. About 8 weeks of treatment, radiation treatment. And at first I was like, maybe I won't do this. But the doctor told me that I had a great chance of living if I did complete the radiation treatment. And 8 weeks later, I came out with a clean bill of health. So I've had 5 years went by. And last year I was diagnosed. As a matter of fact, I found out that something was off, and we came back home to Charlotte, went to the doctor, did some tests, some PET scans and everything. And I found out that I had stomach cancer, early on stomach cancer, stage 1. And they recommended radiation again. I went through 6 weeks of radiation there, met some nice people in radiation. And after going through radiation, 6 months later, I've been diagnosed cancer-free. It's very important, as I said earlier, to have yourself checked out. If you find something off in your system, you see something that's different, then don't just hold it to yourself. Don't just lie. Because I started out lying to my wife, and she was asking what was going on, and I was lying. And then I told her that something was off, and we went and got checked, and that's how we found out. But if there's something wrong, then please go to the doctor. Don't be afraid to go. You don't know how many years you might extend your life by actually going to the doctor. Those myths that we have, those old myths, that's all they are. I can't be a provider, Crystal. I can't be a protector. I can't be a father, mentor, husband, any of those things if I'm not here. So I chose to have the radiation. I chose to be here. I chose to stay here, not just for myself, because that's a selfish reason, but for my grandchildren and for my children and for my wife and my family, because I got to be here. They need me. And it's very, very, very important that I continue to go on a regular basis to the doctor. And I encourage all of us to go. Don't be afraid. Modern medicine may be the healer that you need.
Thank you for that, Will. I appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to Will. I just want you to see some of these closing comments that they've made before we get out of here, Will. You know, this young lady, Miss Page, said, teacher and advocate to your heart. Thank you so much for sharing. Keith said, amazing interview. So inspiring, Will. And I'm glad to know you and to be a part of the family. And Keith Taylor said, great show, you know. Lee said, great interview as well. And also Penny, I hadn't seen Penny before. Hi, Penny. Thank you for joining. Listen, I hope you guys will make sure while you're here, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button. And if you have a story, let me tell you this. If you have a story, your story is important too. So let me just make that clear real quick. If you have a story, hit me up on Storytime. That's what we do here. We help people to share their stories because your story matters. Whatever you went through in life, you might need to share it like Will shared here today, and it may save another life. So please, please, please hit the subscribe button. Reach out to Will and let me know if you have a story you want to share. It doesn't matter if it's good, if it's an ugly story, if it's a traumatic story and you overcame something, a success story, whatever. It doesn't matter who you are. You don't have to be some person with these big following. No, if you have a story, you matter to me. Okay. If you're a friend of Will, you matter to me. Reach out and I'm happy to help you get the word out about whatever it is that you want to share that's on your heart. So just know that. Will, I appreciate you. I thank you. God bless you and your family. Let's continue to stay connected. Let's be hopeful about our alma mater. And we'll see each other again. Hopefully, I see you at the Hope Fest next year. We're planning to do it bigger and better. I talked to Les 2 days ago, and we're saying we got to set a date, and we're trying to work some other things around it so we can perhaps have more going on when people come back. And I'll look for you at the next hopefully Falcon event if somebody has one soon. And
Okay.
And thank you again. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching Storytime. My name is Crystal Brody Smith. I'm your Hope Catalyst. My mission is to stir up the gift, instill hope, and save life. Once again, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Check out some more stories. We've got the Rick High story. We've got Pup George Williams story, Gary Taylor. There's so many people who have shared their story. Go down through the lives and check out the legends. You will be amazed. I have people who have shared about their surviving cancer, prostate cancer, domestic violence, suicide attempts. So many stories have been shared here. So please, please, please go through and let me know. And we'll see you on the next story time. We'll be back Wednesday, 8 p.m. On Wednesdays, it's 8 p.m. On Sundays, it's 9 p.m. Wednesdays, it's 8 p.m. And Sundays, it's 9 p.m. And we'll see you on the next story time. I love you. And my word to you today is keep hope alive. Whatever you do, keep recycling that hope over and over and over again. See y'all on the next story time. Thanks.
catalyst for change with the chance to thrive. Crystal is the one to stir up gifts and save lives. You get exposure, promotion, and marketing too. And advertise for business owners just like you. On Storytime, your interview is global. Virtual or in person, just come on the show. Yo, your story matters. Crystals will open the door. 40 years of experience, ready to give you more on Storytime. Get ready for Storytime. Hey, come on.